Hi, this is Carter Clues, and welcome to Mike Cobb's Offshore Investment Report. Today, we are going to talk about an offshore investment on which Mike is the ultimate authority because it's his Gran Pacific community. We're not selling the property. We're talking investments. I think you ought to buy the property, but we're talking investment. Mike, welcome. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, Carter. It's funny to be talking about Gran Pacifica while I'm in Belize, but anyway, yeah, no.
You're a Graham Bayman, another incredible Mike Cobb community, folks.
Yep.
There we go. Check
There
it
we
out.
go.
Check
Gran
it out.
Bayman in Belize. That's where I am today. Yeah, I'm down
Yeah.
here for our bank board meetings. In fact, I just had lunch with the governor of the Central Bank of Belize today, which was nice. I had not met him before,
Right.
so enjoyed a nice lunch with him, and I'm back in the office so I could talk to you for a few minutes, and then I've got to scoot off back into my board meeting. So yeah, they gave me special permission to talk to Carter. Okay. Yeah.
Well, in that case, I'm going to try and make it worth your while and worth everybody's while. Folks, I want to talk about Gran Pacifica. Gran Pacifica is the premier residential resort community in Central America, okay, and Latin America. Now, but as I said at the intro, I'm not talking about it because I'm saying you need to go buy there. You make up your own mind if you want to buy there, but live there. But as an investment, I want to talk investment, okay? But first, Mike, let me do this. Let me roll, I think it's like a minute and 24-second video about Gran Pacifica so they'll know what we're talking about. Is that all right?
Okay. Yeah.
On the website. All right. Super producer Gary, can you roll that? Absolutely, Mike. It is gorgeous. It is gorgeous. Congratulations to you. What was there when you first? What was it when you first set foot on it? What was it? 20 years ago?
22.
22 years ago.
22 years ago.
You're still going to be as old as me.
Yeah,
22 years ago.
22 years ago. Yeah.
What was there? We just saw what's there now, folks. What was there then, Mike?
Well, it was a cattle pasture. I mean, it was, the property had been a cotton farm, a peanut farm. Over the years, it had been largely, deforested. So yeah, and then when we bought it, it was actually just a giant 2,500 acre cattle pasture on the beach. So yeah, incredible.
Fantastic.
Right. So and that video, by the way, is a little bit old. I mean, we've got another 80 homes under construction right now. So, I mean, the next time we shoot a video like that, I mean, the number of homes will be almost twice what you saw in that video. Yeah.
Which is just fantastic. And it's gorgeous, folks. So you took it from being a cow pasture. Now there's horseback riding, there's tennis, there are beautiful restaurants, stores, everything, folks. Gran Pacifica is your all amenities communities. Okay. I get a lot of folks saying to me, Carter, because, every week on Coffee with Carter, I have the $1,000 listing Caribbean where I tell them about a property. Some of them there are no amenities. I swear to God, Mike, you would have laughed. This week, I told them about some lodge in outside of Quito, Peru. Okay. How far outside, folks? You can only get to Quito by boat. This place, you're lucky to get to by But so it's the opposite. If there are any amenities, you better bring them. But with Gran Pacifica, total amenities.
Right.
Total amenities.
Yeah. You know, I mean, we built some of them, like you said, the tennis court, the clubhouse, the bar, the restaurant, the golf course. I mean, we have a 9-hole golf course and another 9 holes that's been laid out, right? So a lot of that stuff, I mean, we built, but you know, I like to say that God did most of the work and just built just an incredibly, you know, beautiful piece of property. We've got 2 phenomenal surf breaks on it. One's an expert break, one of the best 10 in Central America. The other one's a great learning. It's where my daughters learned how to surf when they were younger. The horseback riding you mentioned, we've made trails up and through. We've planted at this point, I think, over 250 acres of teak trees. So it is a spectacularly beautiful property. Lots of rolling terrain, hills. Yeah, it's great. Yep,
it is stunning. It is, well, as folks just saw in the video, stunning. But folks, again, we're not saying to you, look, you can go there, and here's what. Just your typical home. That home is in walking distance of the beach, right?
Yeah, 3 minutes. I mean, it's a couple 100 yards from the beach, right?
From the beach.
Yeah.
Now, but I'm not saying. Here's what I'm saying, Mike. And I want to frame this, okay? I'm not saying, folks, for you to go live there. I would if I were you. The price of that home? I think is just under $200,000, right?
That actually is one of our medium-sized homes. That one's probably just under 300, maybe 279, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. But rather than tell folks to go live there, which again probably be a pretty good idea, what I'm talking about is investment, and I'll tell you why, Mike. A couple weeks ago when we talked, you said something that triggered in my mind what I now have done several social media post on, called the 10% factor. The 10% factor, where you said, okay, $300,000 in the US, $3 million.
Right. Easily. If you were in California, 200 yards from the ocean, you know, you'd pay $2-3 million. Right. It's 10%. Yeah. Like we have a beautiful oceanfront condo. I mean, we're sold at this point. We haven't launched our next building yet, but when we launch our next building, we will have oceanfront condos for 179, 200, whatever, right? Oceanfront on the Pacific. These are like literally oceanfront, 50 yards from the water, right? For under 200,000, and they'd be $2 million in California, exactly.
Easily $2 million. Then South Beach, $4 million. And so I talk about the 10% factor because I want people to understand. Mike is the offshore investment oracle. He's the offshore oracle. And folks, if you never lived at Gran Pacifica, someplace like that, it's still, to me, and Mike, I'm going to stick my neck out. You don't have to. I'm going to say is an incredible investment. Incredible investment. And let me put in perspective. I think this is fascinating. To prepare for this talk with you, I went back and reviewed the 6 homes I've owned and sold over the past 50 years. Okay. Mm-hmm. And grand total, it came out to, I had invested about $350,000. I always buy cheap. Okay. That's just me. But remember, going back 50 years, folks.
Yeah. Right.
If I still had those homes, Mike, they'd be worth $3.5 million, somewhere around there. Plus the cash flow on rentals would probably add another $500,000, $700,000.
Yeah.
So that's what we're talking about here.
Right.
What about an investment in Gran Pacifica?
Well, you know, and a lot of people do own the homes as a vacation property. They'll go there 1 or 2 weeks a year, whatever, just to have some fun. But the other 50 weeks a year, whatever, they put it in a rental program. And right, that's the point. I mean, you're going to buy it for 10% of what you would pay in California, roughly. And then you're going to pick up, rental income for years, decades, whatever, right? I mean, as long as you own it. And one of the nice things about Gran Pacifica is it is the closest beach to Managua and the international airport. And so we have a ton of folks who come out from embassies and lots of Nicaraguans. I mean, it's not just expats. It's a ton of Nicaraguans come out. About 20% of our property owners are Nicaraguan. So, 1 in 5, it's a very fun integrated community. And I think that makes it a great place for people to rent, right? If it was really just an exclusive expat hangout, the Nicaraguans wouldn't want to be there. But right. because it's integrated, we have a lot of traffic on the weekends, especially holidays from Nicaraguans. and then the North Americans who come down for, a week at a time, 2 weeks at a time, whatever they're using it. So you own a home, you own the home for 10% of what you'd pay for it in the States. And then you get, really nice cash flow for a long time. Yep.
For a long time. Plus, and again, I'm always a little bothered when I say 50 years, right? Because most people, when you say 50 years, they go, oh my God, I can't even. Trust me, folks, it will pass. I remember 50 years ago when I bought all these homes I just told you about, $300,000 investment, $4 million return had I kept them and sold them today. Okay. 50 years from now, that home you're buying for $300,000, I'm going to say it, Mike, is going to be worth, if just the ratio that I just did for the homes I bought, you're talking about $3, $4, maybe $5 million.
Right. Well, and you're right, Carter. I mean, look, it's not like, you could talk about it as an investment, but you could also just talk about it as a protection of inflation, right? A monetary way to hedge against inflation. And I think that's really the key, right? At the end of the day, you've got you've got this way to preserve the value of your assets, and that's what real estate does. And I think there's an investment angle, and that's, you said you like to buy cheap, right? Well, when you buy properties that are out of favor, let me just say that, out of favor, right? Nicaragua's out of favor. I mean, it is not very popular. And because it's not very popular, you've got incredibly value priced properties, right? The price of properties reflects popularity generally.
Sure.
So in addition to having a hedge against inflation, or as the protection of the value of your money, right, that real estate does, I think that properties in Nicaragua also offer an upside beyond that, because you're buying a property that is out of favor, generally in the popular markets of North America. So I think that there's that particular angle as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. And it has been out of favor for 40 years. But the fact of the matter is, through that 40 years, it's been a very peaceful, lovely, safe, and secure place.
Correct.
I mean, that's what you're not told. Everybody thinks, well, they had that revolution. Yeah, that was
40 years ago.
40 years ago. And they've had elections since then, very peaceful transitions. So I think that out of favor is, to be honest with you, I get a lot of emails now from people, and Nicaragua is one of the prime spots they talk about.
Well, it's true, Carter. I mean, look, people can't believe that we're building 80 homes right now. I think we have orders for another 30 or 40 right now too. We haven't started, right? People are like, wait a minute, you're building 80 homes and you have orders for 30 more. What's that? 110, or let's just call it 100. You have orders for 100 homes in Nicaragua. And we're like, yeah, we do. Because you know what? Not everybody's afraid to do their own research and look at the facts, right? I mean, look, if you want to, I like to say this because it's insulting, right? If you want to let Ted Turner do your thinking for you, right? Mr. CNN, right? 40 years ago, if you want to let Ted Turner, right, the guy who married Jane Fonda, do your thinking for you, go right ahead. I mean, have at it. Right. Yeah. But if you have any measure of like self-determination and free will, and you say, you know what, I'm not going to let Ted do my thinking. I'm actually going to do my own research. And you know what? Several hundred people have done their own research and have bought properties from us. And, and so that's what I always tell people: do your own research, come down and visit, see what your own eyes tell you. Don't let someone like Ted tell you what to think. Anyway, and when you do, I mean, in fact, let me actually, I stay away from investments, and I don't like to talk about investments, right? I really focus on the lifestyle. To me, it's about lifestyle. But let me make a suggestion. The single best investment that anybody watching this video could make would be a plane ticket and 3 or 4 nights hotel in Nicaragua. You come to Nicaragua, you spend whatever, $2,000 on your airfare and your hotel and meals and blah, 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 right? You make an investment of $2,000 to come see Nicaragua. It'll be the best investment you ever made, because you're going to see this arbitrage opportunity. You're going to see that what you've been hearing in the news, or what you heard in the news 30, 40 years ago, now it's so different, right? You're going to go, oh my goodness, like I couldn't imagine it would be like this. And guess what? It is. And when you see that with your own eyes, and you understand that more and more and more and more people are seeing it with their own eyes. By the way, think about this. people of our generation, we remember CNN and, in the news media from the 80s and the 90s, right?
Yeah.
But the younger generation, people who are 30, 40, right?
Yeah.
They weren't even alive back then, right? So they don't have this negative hangover in their minds. And of these 80 properties, I'm going to guess that 3/4 of them were sold to people under 50. Under 50.
Wow.
They don't.
Wow.
I mean, so Carter, if you're over 50 and watching this, invest in a plane ticket and some airfare. Come see it, and then you'll understand. Like, wow, I could really buy something that's way out of favor and pick up an incredible piece of property at super inexpensive rates, and then own it for the long term. So
a tenth of what you pay in the U.S. And I'll tell you another way they can research is go to ecidevelopment.com and click on the free Nicaragua handbook.
Yes,
it's right on the website, folks. If you go there and scroll down, you'll see the Nicaragua handbook. I think it's there with like 5 others. But click on that.
We have lots of resources at the ECI site. So come check it out. Right, exactly.
And it's full color. It's fact filled. It's a great read. And that is another way they can find out. And I think, I often think when we're thinking about, because we're talking investment now, I think back what Will Rogers said, okay? He said, don't wait to invest in property and wait. Yeah.
Sage advice.
That's a great statement. That's a great statement. And I honestly, I know you've got to get back to that,
I do. In fact, they're waving at me through the door.
Okay. They're waving. Plus, I think any minute you might be devoured
by the way, I love to be needed. It makes me feel good to be needed. It's like, all right,
So there you go, folks. We talked investment today. I think it's a great investment. I'd go live there. Number one, that's a pretty nice place to live. But the investment is simply fantastic. So, Mike, this was good. This was good. Gave us a good perspective on a property that nobody knows more about than Mike Cobb, because it's a Mike Cobb community. So thank you.
Thank you, Carter. Always good to be with you. And enjoy your weekend.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure. All right. Take care. Folks, seriously, that is, remember what I quoted Will Rogers. Remember what Mark Twain said: buy property. It's a great investment because they can't make more of it. So, as I always tell you every week, let's do this thing.